Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. You're listening to Focal Point on AFR Talk, American Family Radio Talk Network. Going back just to close the loop on the deal with Hiroshima, you know, and every nation has an unalienable right from God to defend its borders. That's an unalienable right that comes from God. It's the right of national self-defense, just as we have the right of individual self-defense. And that's the responsibility of our government. That's one of the God-given responsibilities, according to Romans 13, to use the sword on our behalf as our avenger, as the avenger of justice, as the one who carries out the wrath of God against those that deprive our citizens of the right to life, liberty, and property. That's a proper role of government, to use the sword, which is an instrument of lethal force, in order to protect our God-given and unalienable rights. So when our government and our military went to war against Japan because Japan had taken the lives of American citizens, which they had no right to do, and obviously had hostile and aggressive intentions toward the United States, we had every right to go to war to protect ourselves. And in the end, if it's a just war, which World War II was, what you always want to do if you're a nation that believes in the sanctity of life, you want to minimize casualties. You want to minimize the loss of human life. Now, the decisions to drop these bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki did exactly that. They represent a commitment to protecting the sanctity of life to the degree that it is possible now in a war. It's not possible to protect all life. You just can't do it. But in a just war, if your pursuit of a war is just, then you will want to take actions that will result in the minimum number of casualties. And as we saw in our last segment, you know, President Truman calculated there's 1 million soldiers are going to lose their lives if we have to invade Japan. Japan's slogan is 100 million Japanese to defend the emperor and the empire. They were prepared, 100 million of them. I mean, that was an exaggeration, obviously, but it just gives you an idea of the length to which they were prepared to go to lay down their lives for the emperor and for the empire of Japan. So the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki saved literally millions of lives. Countless lives on both sides of that conflict were preserved by that decision. Therefore, I believe it was an entirely morally justified decision to take. And because Japan was the aggressor in that war, the loss of life at Hiroshima and Nagasaki occurred only because of the deadly and unwarranted hostility of Japan. And therefore, I believe the blame for the loss of life, the moral culpability for the loss of life at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, must rest entirely with the nation of Japan. Now, if you look at America, this is not like we're off scot-free now. We can just blame Japan for what happened in World War II, because since 1973, 56 million innocent humans have been slaughtered on our shores through abortion. And the moral culpability for that horror, that rests entirely upon us. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about Nelson Mandela just a bit. I want to read some quotes from Nelson Mandela. Then I'm going to play some sound bites. So this is Mandela.